Hello friends, welcome to the course Atoms and Molecules as per the revised syllabus of Savitribai Phule Pune University CBCS 2019 pattern for MSc Physics. So we are studying our second module, molecules. So in this lecture we will study the molecular orbital theory. So in the previous lecture we have studied different types of bonding. So the different theories were proposed in order to explain the different properties of molecules or molecular formation. So such theories are Lewis model or Lewis theory, which treats the electrons as dots and bonds as dashes. Right. So another theory is valence shell electron pair repulsion or VSEPR theory. So in this theory, the electrons around the central atom will configure themselves to minimize repulsion, and that detects the geometry of the molecule. So another theory is valence bond theory. So in this theory, it is a more quantum mechanical view of bonding, and the atomic orbitals become hybrid orbitals. According to this theory, the atomic orbitals become hybrid orbitals, and the hybrid orbitals, they are localized on the atom. Another theory is molecular orbital theory. In this theory, it is a fully quantum mechanical view of bonding. So in this theory, the atomic orbitals, they become the molecular orbitals. So the molecular orbitals, they are decollized over the entire molecule than the individual atoms. So we have seen that in the case of atoms, the electrons do not occupy the space arbitrarily. That means their distribution and energies are governed by well-defined natural laws. Their characteristic may be calculated from the Schrodinger's equation and expressed in terms of three-dimensional wave functions or orbitals. Right? So these orbitals, they can take different shapes like s orbital, p orbital, d orbital or f orbital. So the wave function psi or the orbitals depends on the values of quantum numbers n, l and m, and the spin of the electrons is also contribute to the energies of this orbital. So there are definite rules which determine which orbitals are occupied in the ground state and what transitions may take place between different orbitals. So the molecular orbital theory takes further the concept of atomic orbitals to the molecules, and that is the molecules also has orbitals called as molecular orbitals. The shape and energy of these orbitals is calculated from the Schrodinger's equation in terms of the three quantum numbers. So essentially the same rules apply to the molecular orbitals as that of the atomic orbitals. That means the lowest energy will be filled first. The maximum of only 2 paired electrons per orbitals are allowed, and the electrons will go in the parallel spin in degenerate orbitals. That means the three laws, that means Hund's law, above principle and Pauli's exclusion principle, we have seen in the case of atomic orbitals, they are applicable here also. So the molecular orbital theory was introduced by Hund and Mulliken. So molecular orbitals means the orbitals that encompasses the entire molecule and are not associated with any particular bond between the two atoms. That means the molecular orbitals, they are the property of the entire molecule and not the single atom. So in most cases, the MO theory provides us with a more accurate picture of the electronic structure of molecules, and it gives us more information about their chemistry. As in the case of atomic orbitals, the shape of the molecular orbital is the space within which an electron belonging to that orbital will spend almost 95% of its time. Right? So that orbital is, we say, the molecular orbital. Right? So the detailed computations of these shapes of these orbitals from Schrodinger's theory is relatively difficult topic, and therefore we can use the approximation called as linear combination of atomic orbitals method to get the shape of the orbitals by taking the sums or differences of atomic orbitals of the constituent atoms. So for example, for a diatomic molecule, we could imagine the formation of two different molecular orbitals whose wave function would be psi molecule is equal to psi 1 plus psi 2 or psi molecule is equal to psi 1 minus psi 2. right, where psi1 and psi2 are the relevant atomic orbitals of the two atoms, and also the orbital psi2 minus psi1 is identical with psi1 minus psi2, since we know that it is the psi molecule square. That means it represents the probability of finding the electron in a particular place, and that probability is always positive. That means psi1 minus psi2 is same as psi2 minus psi1. Let us consider an example of hydrogen molecule or H2 molecule. So the atomic orbitals involved are 1s orbital of each hydrogen atom. We know that since the 1s orbital is positive everywhere, the sum or overlap of the two 1s orbitals will result in the increase in the value of psi H2, and thus this orbital takes simply an ellipsoid shape, and this orbital represents the formation of the bond between the two atoms, and it is called as the bonding orbital and given the label as 1s sigma. On the other hand, for the difference of the two 1s orbitals, we get the psi H2 is equal to psi 1s minus psi 1s, right? Since again psi 1s is positive everywhere, when the two separate 1s orbitals overlap, they will cancel each other, and thus between the nuclei psi molecule will be 0. That means between the two nuclei, the wave function will be 0, right? While it will be positive near one nucleus and negative near the other nucleus. So please note that the psi molecule square will be positive everywhere. Since the more charge is concentrated outside than inside the bond, that is between the two nuclei, and this enhance the repulsion between the two nuclei, and this type of orbital is called as anti-bonding orbital. So it leads to a state with higher energy than the two separate atoms, and it is thus labeled as 1s sigma star. So this asterisk representing the high energy state. So we have seen thus we have seen the two types of orbital, bonding and anti-bonding, in the case of H2 molecule, right? So the bonding orbital and anti-bonding orbitals, so they are both seem to have cylindrical symmetry about the bond axis, that is the charge is concentrated along the bond axis. If you see the end view of these orbitals, we can see the charge is concentrated along the bond axis, because both the orbital they are having the cylindrical kind of end view or structure, right? And therefore we can say the charge is concentrated along the bond axis, and therefore they are represented by using the letter sigma, right? So they are described as sigma orbitals. So we have the 1s sigma and 1s sigma star kind of orbital. So the sigma is due to the nature of the bond, because the charge is concentrated along the bond axis, and therefore they are sigma types of bonds. So another facet of molecular symmetry should be considered here. So if a molecule is homonuclear, that is made up of two identical atoms, then the midpoint of the bond between them is a center of symmetry starting from any point in the molecule on or off the internuclear axis. Exactly similar surroundings are encountered by proceeding to the point diagonally opposite to the center, right? So if we start from any point and we go diagonally opposite to another point, we get the same surroundings, and therefore it is called as symmetric or inversion process, right? Such a process is known as inversion process, and such molecular properties, the molecular properties such as electron density, force fields, etc., they are unchanged by inversion. However, we know that psi may or may not be changed in sign by inversion, and thus inversion of 1s sigma molecular orbital plainly causes no change in its psi, since it is everywhere positive, and this orbital in which psi is completely symmetrical is described as E1 and usually given the symbol G. So the German word Gerhard means E1, right? So we use the German word Gerhard, so that represents the E1, because the even nature or symmetrical nature of this kind of orbital, and therefore we use the symbol G or a suffix G to this 1s sigma. So we write 1s sigma G. On the other hand, the 1s sigma star orbital is antisymmetrical, since inversion reverses the sign of psi, in this orbital, and therefore this orbital is thus odd and given the subscript u. So the German word ungerade means odd, or for that we use the symbol u in for this orbital, and we represent it 1s sigma u star, right? Thus, in the case of hydrogen molecule, the bonding orbital is even and the anti-bonding orbital is odd. But this situation may be reversed for other molecules also, right? If the molecule is heteronuclear, for example, carbon monoxide or HCl, etc., then there is not a center of symmetry, and the odd even classification of the orbital does not exist in the case of heteronuclear molecules. So let us study the variation of energy with internuclear distance. So before turning to the shape of the other molecular orbitals, it is instructive to consider how the energies of 1s sigma g and 1s sigma u star orbitals varies with the distance between the two nuclei. The 1s sigma g, the bonding orbital, shows the typical Morse kind of curve for a diatomic molecule. That means in this case, when the two atoms they come closer and form a bond, then the potential energy will decrease, and when the bond is formed, the potential energy will be minimum. So the minimum in the curve showing that the bond is formed between the two atoms, and therefore we say this is a bonding orbital, and we represent it as 1s sigma g, right? The 1s sigma u star, on the other hand, shows no minimum but is of one of the continuous kind of curve, right? So this is anti-bonding orbital, so it has no minimum, it is a continuous kind of curve, right? We can represent the situation in terms of molecular orbital energy level diagram also, as shown in figure. So in the case of H2 molecule, when two hydrogen atoms they come closer, so they have one electron in their 1s orbital, and when these two hydrogen atoms they form a H2 molecule, so we have the bonding orbital, the two electrons they will go paired in the bonding orbital, that is 1s sigma g orbital, right? So this orbital is this kind of shape, right? And there is another orbital that is formed, that is empty, so that orbital is 1s sigma u star. So this is anti-bonding orbital in the case of H2 molecule. In the case of higher orbitals, for example 2s orbitals, so 2s orbitals have the similar shapes as that of the 1s orbital, and therefore when two 2s orbitals can form 2s sigma g and 2s sigma u star bonding and anti-bonding orbitals with identical shape as that of the 1s sigma g and 1s sigma u star, but they are larger in size and they are higher in energy than that of the 1s sigma orbitals, right? In the case of 2p orbitals, two 2p type orbitals can overlap in two different ways depending on their relative orientation. So we will see this. So if we label the internuclear axis the z direction, then we may consider first the 2p orbital which lies along this axis, so z axis from each atom, and that is 2pz orbital, right? So now the expression for the wave function for a 2pz orbital has the form psi 2pz is equal to z into f of r, where f of r is a positive function of distance from the nucleus. So we see that for the this 2pz orbital plus z direction psi is always also positive, right? While it is negative for minus z direction, and the two lobes of the 2p orbitals thus have opposite signs, although everywhere psi square is always positive. When a bond is formed between two atoms, when such two 2pz orbitals come closer, then the orbital psi molecule is equal to psi 2pz plus psi 2pz will be formed, and that represent the sum, right? So we can see that in the case of this sum, since the orbitals they have positive charge along the positive z direction and negative charge along the negative z direction, and because of that the positive charge of one orbital cancel the negative charge of another orbital, and therefore in between the two nuclei we will get zero charge, right? So they will cancel each other in between the nuclei, and we can see near the nuclei or outside the bond, we can see the negative and positive charges on the that orbital, right? So we can see the shape as shown here. In the case of similarly, in the case of this psi molecule is equal to psi 2pz minus psi 2pz. In that case, we have the difference, and the difference between these two will give the electron density will increase in between the two nuclei, right? So in that case, the electron density between the two nuclei will be increased, and the orbital will have the shape as shown here, right? So it can be seen that the bottom orbital is a bonding orbital, and it is also symmetric, that is even, or it is of G type, while the orbital at the top right is anti-bonding or U type of orbital. So the end view of both is same, however shows symmetry about the bond axis, and for this reason both these orbitals, they are referred as sigma orbitals, and they may be labeled as 2p sigma g and 2p sigma u star. That means in the case of these 2p z orbitals, we get 2p sigma g as the bonding orbital and 2p sigma u star as the anti-bonding orbital. The overlap of the two 2py orbitals is as shown in figure. So 2px are exactly similar, but they are rotated out of the plane of the figure by 90 degree. So here we have two 2py orbitals. The summation of the orbital which are bonding are shown here. So we can see that the molecular orbital consists of two streamers, one above and one below the nuclei, right? On the other hand, if the atomic orbitals are subtracted, then we get the difference of the two orbitals, and the picture is as shown here. So if you see the end view, so the difference orbital is a anti-bonding orbital, right? And it is represented by 2p pi g star. So if you see the end view of these two orbitals, we can see it has appearance of the atomic orbital of p type, and hence it is labeled as pi kind of orbital, right? So it has p kind of shape, and therefore we have used pi, right? So we can see the pi bond, when pi bond is formed, the electron densities are above and below, they are concentrated above and below the internuclear axis, and therefore such kind of bond is a pi kind of bond, right? So we can see the H2 molecule on the energy level diagram, right? So molecular energy level diagram, in the case of hydrogen atom, the 2s and 2p energy levels, they are degenerate. Therefore in the case of hydrogen molecule also, we get the 2s and 2p orbitals, they are degenerate. So in the case of ground state of H2 molecule, the two 1s electrons from one from each atom can both occupy the molecular orbital 1s sigma g state, provided their spins are opposed. The energy of the electron in this state is lower than that of the two separate atoms, and hence the molecule is stable. In the ground state of H2 molecule, the two 1s atomic orbitals, one from each atom, can both occupy the molecular orbital 1s sigma g state, provided their spins are opposed. The energy of the electron in this state is lower than that of the two separate atoms, hence the molecule is stable, and we can write its configuration as 1s sigma g2, right? So we can define the bond order as the difference between the number of bonds and anti-bonds. So it was introduced by Linus Pauling. That means bond order is equal to the number of electrons in the bonding molecular orbitals minus number of electrons in the anti-bonding molecular orbitals divided by 2. So in the case of this H2 molecule, bond order is 2 minus 0 upon 2, that means it is 1, and therefore the H2 molecule is stable. Whereas in the case of helium 2 molecule, whether this molecule is possible or not, so we can see if this molecule were to form, it would have a total of 4 electrons to place into the orbitals, because each atom will have 2 such electrons, right? So only 2 of them could go into the bonding 1s sigma g orbital, right? We know that the rule that only 2 electrons, paired electrons, can go into the one molecular orbital, and therefore we have this 1s sigma g kind of orbital. The other two would have to go into the 1s sigma u star orbital. However, when such kind of orbitals are filled, so we can see the energy will be absorbed in the process to occupy the 2 electrons in the 1s sigma u star state. So the energy that is required or that will be absorbed in order to fill this orbital is more than the energy released to form this orbital, right? And therefore this molecule is not stable, right? So we can see the energies of this 1s orbital are here, atomic energies of two helium atoms are here, and the bonding orbital will have energy slightly lower than that of the atomic orbitals, but this antibonding orbital will have energy that is much greater than that of the individual atom, energies of the individual atom, and therefore the formation of this kind of molecule is not possible, right? So we can see it also from the bond order. So bond order is equal to 2 minus 2 upon 2, that is 0, and therefore the H2 molecule does not exist, right? So it is this molecule, if it is formed, it is unstable. Now let us move to another molecule, that is N2 molecule, right? So in the case of N2 molecule, if you see the electronic configuration of N atom, we have 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. That means each atom has 7 electrons, and therefore when two N atoms they come closer, they form the N2 molecule. So we have 14 electrons, right? So these electrons, they will go into the 1s sigma g, 1s sigma u star, 2s sigma g, 2s sigma u star, and then remaining 3 electrons from each 2p orbital from the atom, they will go to the 2p orbitals, right? So in the case of 2p sigma g, there are 2 electrons. In the case of 2p sigma 2p pi u, we have 4 electrons, right? Now we can see the electronic configuration of N2 molecule. So it is 1s sigma g square, 1s sigma u square, 2s sigma g square, 2s sigma u square, 2p sigma g square, and 2p pi u raised to 4. That means this pi orbital will take 4 electrons, right? So since we can see that there are 2 degenerate orbitals, right? So this pi orbital, actually it is not a single orbital, but they are 2 degenerate orbitals, and therefore it can take 4 electrons, right? So these 2 degenerate orbitals, pi orbitals, they can take 4 electrons, and in this case, if we see the 1s sigma g 2 and 1s sigma u2, they will cancel each other. Also the 2s sigma g 2 and 2s sigma g2 star, they will also cancel each other, and therefore 3 pairs of electrons will be remain in the bonding orbitals 2p sigma g2 and 2p pi u4, right? And therefore the N2 molecule has a triple bond, right? Because there are 3 electron pairs in the bonding orbitals, and therefore it has triple bond. So in the case of O2 molecule, each atom has 1 electron more than that of the nitrogen atom, and clearly the lowest orbital available is the antibonding 2p pi g orbital for the extra electrons, right? So the 2 electrons in this orbital effectively cancel the bonding contribution to a pair in the 2p pi u orbital. So these 2 electrons, they will cancel the electronic configuration of one of the pi orbitals, right, bonding orbital, and therefore only 2 pairs will be left, and therefore net bonding of only 4 electrons, and therefore it is a double bond in the case of O2 molecule. Also, one unusual characteristic of the structure of O2 concerns the 2 electrons in the antibonding 2p pi j orbital. Since there are 2 degenerate orbitals, so these two pi orbitals, they are degenerate, right? The electrons will occupy one each to satisfy electron repulsion. To satisfy the electron repulsion, these 2 electrons, they will go separately into 2 degenerate orbitals that we have seen the rule. for this, right? So according to Hund's rule, which apply to molecule just as to atoms, they will preferentially have their spins parallel rather than paired, right? So their spins will be parallel according to Hund's rule rather than being paired, and therefore these two electrons they will be having the paired spin, and therefore O2 is a molecule containing some unpaired electrons, and therefore the structural characteristics which gives the O2 a paramagnetic kind of behavior, and therefore this O2 molecule is paramagnetic because of the presence of these two unpaired electrons, and which is explained on the basis of molecular orbital theory why O2 molecule is paramagnetic. So in summary we have seen what is meant by molecular orbital theory, how to represent the molecular orbitals and symmetry of the molecular orbital. In the next lecture we will study the valence bond theory. Thank you.